It's become the quick and easy way to pay. Using your phone or tapping your card at the till may be convenient, and soon it might be necessary as stores start encouraging people towards going cashless. Last week, the World Health Organization stated there is a chance COVID-19 could be transmitted through money, and that has some stores on edge. Best Buy has announced it no longer accepts cash, and some grocery stores are now posting signs asking customers to avoid cash as COVID-19 continues to spread. Right now, many tap-to-pay services have a limit on how much you can spend. It all really depends on your bank. But Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and Google Pay all limit you to about $100. After that, you have to either pull out a card or use a PIN. But that could soon change. Many European countries are raising the limits on tap-to-pay so people can buy more with their mobile devices. There's no word on whether Canada will follow suit, as our tap-to-pay limit is already higher than theirs. But Canadian banks are expressing concern. In fact, the Bank of Canada is encouraging all stores to continue accepting physical cash, as not everyone has access to the technology required to go cashless, especially seniors who may not have smartphones. But it's a hard sell for those concerned with the risk of getting COVID-19.
Good thing about being Canadian?
Just look at this Facebook video that went viral this week. Washing money in a sink full of soap and hand sanitizer? Would it work? Probably. After all, our bills are polymer, not paper, but I hardly doubt banks would endorse the practice of laundering your money, even if in this case it is legal. For City News, I'm Mike Yanni.
And as the U.S. continues to see rising number of coronavirus cases, public anxiety also escalating. That includes concerns about using cash. Many worry it could actually be a source of transmission. Though many transactions are now contactless or digital, are we ready to go fully cashless? To discuss, we're joined by Jim McKelvey. He's co-founder of payments firm Square and author of The Innovation Stack. Jim, the effect of this coronavirus on mobile payments, is that a good thing? I know it's hard to say that it's good in a time of crisis, but...
Well, I mean, for mobile payments versus cash, it's certainly good because people are afraid to touch cash, and probably for good reason, because the CDC has not yet determined that cash is not a way of contracting the coronavirus. They've actually traced cash to other infections, and people are scared, so they want plastic or, better yet, contactless payment.
What do you do when people, though, are not going to stores? If I'm not using the mobile payment in the retail footprint, are you hoping that the revenue is made up by some of the online orders if I'm staying home?
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of shift online. You're going to see a lot of shift to delivery, and you're just going to see a lot of disruption in general. But the great thing about the U.S. economy is that we have all these tiny merchants, and they're super adaptable and super resilient. So you give them the right tools, and they will make the right choices.
How are you seeing consumer behavior change now because of this? Is it permanent?
Well, who knows what's permanent, but I definitely think we're going to unearth some new trends. So, you know, a lot of the white-collar workforce is going to work from home now. That's going to set totally new habits. I'm particularly concerned about people who have to go into work, people who are hourly workers. We're going to see a lot of disruption in those areas. We're going to have to build new tools for them. And my guess is that those tools are going to be coming from the small businesses, from the people that are on the ground living it. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that that population has access to all the best technologies so they can make the decisions, because they're the ones who invent the future.
And you mentioned those small businesses. I think loans to those small businesses from Square increased about 42% last year, year over year. Are you worried now about some of those loans and the credit quality of those vendors?
No, I'm excited about those loans. I mean, those loans do probably the most good because they're tiny loans, but they're for the people who are literally in the streets making the decisions. And things are going to be changing a lot, but that doesn't mean that the world's going to come to a halt. It means that things are going to be different. And we can't sit here in New York, you know, predicting what those differences are, but, you know, out through, you know, thousands or millions of businesses, those decisions are being made. We just want those people to be connected, have the tools they need, and the money they need to make those decisions.
How have all the rate markets this week then impacted the value of those loans? Could you, instead of 15%, is it half that, I guess, today in a week?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, like, you know, I'm on the Fed, and I study the Fed data. We've had a couple emergency meetings, and I've looked at all. Look, nobody knows. Sorry. I certainly don't.
Jim, you're out. with a book, the Innovation Stack.
Yes.
What the heck is the Innovation Stack?
So I picked the worst week in history to launch a new book, but the subject is totally relevant. I'm talking about a phenomenon that I observed at Square, which was how Square was able to survive a direct attack by Amazon while we were still a startup. And we survived because we had this thing that's called an innovation stack. And it's a series of inventions, and it's different than normal business. And when I saw this pattern, I did some research through history, and I figured out that companies throughout history who change markets, who actually invent new markets, have this thing at their core called an innovation stack.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to write a business book. I actually brought you a copy. Like, it was originally a cartoon. It was a comic book. So when I originally wrote the thing, it was
Hold
in graphic
it
novel.
so the camera can get that.
So yes, it's a comic book. Here's the destruction of a major city. There's a murder, and this is how banking started. Okay, so here you go. You can have that. And look, I'm not trying to make light of it.
Right.
We are going to go through a rough period. Some people are going to go through a horrible period. But we want those people who are out there doing it to at least understand that, look, the history of great invention and the creation of new industries occurs with people who are willing to try new things. And those entrepreneurs they're the people who bring us the future. And I wanted to write a book for those people. And look, we're going to need that skill set more than ever, because nobody knows what's going to happen.
You talk about entrepreneurs and visionaries. You were here when we got the news that Bill Gates is stepping down from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Leaving the board, I should say. Your general thoughts on him, the tech space, these visionaries, as we continue to see a shift in leadership where some of the original founders are stepping aside?
Well, I mean, he's dedicating his life to philanthropy now, and he probably should do that because the impacts that he can have through what he's done and the money that he's raised and the contacts he's made and the ideas that he has. I mean, Bill's a voracious reader. He's a very intelligent guy. He's got a fantastic partner. He's got this fantastic organization. And dedicating more time to that when that may be the future is I think, a rational choice. And look, Microsoft is being very well run.
Hi there, how you doing?
I am wonderful.
I am so sorry. That flight is canceled.
No.
Customer incident at the other end.
What? So when is the next flight?
Yeah, they're all kind of full.
I booked this weeks ago. It's my best friend's wedding.
I'm sorry.
I have to get there. I have to.
Okay, let's see what we can do.
Oh, thank you.
I see there's one standby seat on another plane leaving tonight. That's reserved for members of our Prime Flight program. You gotta be a 4.2 or over to qualify.
Oh, I'm a 4.2.
I'm afraid you're actually a 4.183.
Oh. Well, that's not my fault. Some woman dinged me down in the cab. Can't you just...
I'm sorry, it won't let me book it without the correct ranking.
But it's so close.
There's just nothing I can do.
Christ, I mean, surely.
I'm gonna have to ask you to moderate your language there.
Sorry, it's just... I'm maid of honor. I cannot miss this wedding.
And I am so sorry about that.
Can you call the supervisor?
I cannot do that.
Can you just call the supervisor?
I cannot do that.
Call the fucking supervisor.
Okay, that's profanity. We're zero tolerance on profanity.
I'm sorry, it's just...
Yeah, I have to serve the next customer.
No.
You step away, ma'am.
God, just fucking help me! I'm so sorry.
I've called security.
Oh, no, please don't do that. I'm a 5-starring you. 5 stars.
What's the issue here, Hannah?
Intimidation and profanity.
Oh, no, I was not intimidating.
Don't speak, ma'am.
I was just trying
Ma'am?
to...
Okay, so, in order to restore calm, I'm invoking my authority as airport security to dock you 1 full ranking point as a punitive measure. This is a temporary measure.
No!
The score reverts to normal in 24 hours.
No, but I
During
need
the
it
probationary
now.
Period, all down votes are subject to a ×2 multiplier.
×2?
We recommend you avoid negative feedback at this time.
I'm on double damage.
Please, remove yourself from the airport immediately.
well, due to your ranking.
By 2020, China plans to give all of its 1.4 billion citizens a personal score based on how they behave. So some people with low scores are already being punished if they want to travel. Nearly 11 million Chinese people can no longer fly, and 4 million are barred from trains. Next week, the program will start expanding nationwide. Ben Tracy is in China with what's behind the government scoring system. Ben, this sounds like scary stuff. Good morning.
Good morning. The government here says it is trying to purify society by rewarding those who are trustworthy and punishing those who are not. So like the credit score that most Americans get for how they handle their finances, Chinese citizens are now getting social credit scores based on everything from whether they pay their taxes on time to how they cross the street.
When Leo Hu recently tried to book a flight, he was told he was banned from flying because he's on the list of untrustworthy people. Leo is a journalist who was ordered by a court to apologize for a series of tweets he wrote and was then told his apology was insincere. I can't buy property. My child can't go to private school, he says. You feel you're being controlled by the list all the time. And the list is now getting longer, as every Chinese citizen is being assigned a social credit score, a fluctuating rating based on a range of behaviors. It's believed that community service and buying Chinese-made products can raise your score. Fraud, tax evasion, and smoking in non-smoking areas can drop it. If a score gets too low, a person can be banned from buying plane and train tickets, real estate, cars, and even high-speed internet. It's a good thing, this woman says. There should be punishment for people who can't behave. China's growing network of surveillance cameras makes all of this possible. The country already has an estimated 176 million cameras, and it plans to have more than 600 million installed by 2020.
It can recognize more than 4,000 vehicles.
Xu Li is the CEO of SenseTime, one of China's most successful artificial intelligence companies. It has created smart cameras for the government that can help catch criminals, but also track average citizens.
This knows every person, every bike, every car, every bus.
You can tell whether it is an adult, a child, a male or female.
In several big cities in China, including here in Shanghai, the government is even tracking jaywalkers. Cameras record them going through intersections, zero in on their face, and then publicly shame them on nearby video screens.
Ken DeWaskin has studied China's economic and political culture for more than 3 decades. He says how the new scoring system truly works is kept secret and could be easily abused by the government.
How far into people's daily mundane activities does this go?
Well, I think that the government and the people running the plan would like to go as deeply as possible to determine how to allocate benefits and also how to impact and shape their behavior.
Now, there are upsides for people the Chinese government considers trustworthy. They can actually get better interest rates at banks, they can get discounts on their energy bills, and China's largest online dating site reportedly even boosts the profiles of people with high social credit scores. Nora?
Incredible. Ben Tracy in Beijing.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's the ultimate version of Big Brother's watching. No thanks.
Yeah.
Bone-chilling.
Yeah, I think so too.
Imagine that. I mean, we do have, in major cities, we do have cameras everywhere.
Yeah, but if you're jaywalking,
cameras were marking you down.
Right.
If you're jaywalking, I still expect to be able to fly.
Yeah.
Please don't take that away.
Or allow your kid to go to private school.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great story to see what's happening there. Thank you, Ben.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now, the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. A score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not. For now, the number is a sort of bank credit rating, keeping track of everyone's spending habits.
I think being ranked is a good thing. A society has to have rules.
It forces us to be well behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it, and anyway, we don't have a choice.
But in an effort to keep all of its subjects in line, Beijing is taking the system a step further in 2020. It's aggregating data gathered by banks, private companies, and the state to rate if someone's a good or bad citizen.
By using the most data possible, the so-called big data, the system will play an important role in rebuilding a moral society.
The state will go over every detail of a person's life with a fine-tooth comb. Their financial situation, spending habits, career, even behavior on social media. Criticizing the government online or displaying outward signs of wealth is a no-no. On the other hand, praising the party or giving blood increases your social credit. Xiaowen Wang is a model citizen. She lives in Nanjing, a testing ground for social ranking. Married with a child, she has a job in a retirement home, no debts, and she wouldn't dream of jaywalking.
As a good citizen, I respect the rules of the road. If I didn't, I'd lose points on my social credit.
In theory, everything can be taken into account in the social score, even the most innocuous errands like supermarket shopping. When Xiaowen Wang makes an electronic payment, her purchases tell the state a lot about her. Buying cigarettes would count against her. On the other hand, nappies show she's an attentive mother. Beer could indicate alcoholism. She'd be better off buying water. In this pilot city of 8 million people, there are only 18,000 model citizens. For Xiaowen Wang, there are perks to be had, such as paying half price for the bus.
I get discounts for all public services, even at museums. And the library is free for me, thanks to my score.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date. Among them is this journalist Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. But he only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
Liu Hu is among a tiny minority of people who have dared to criticize the system, which some are calling a digital dictatorship.
I worry, because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedoms, and all of us will live with restrictions of one kind or another.
After our meeting, Liu Hu learned that his name had been removed from the blacklist, but he still has a long way to go if he doesn't want to languish at the bottom of the social credit hierarchy.
Well, let's see how long it takes you to find me. Thank you very much. Let's go.
我们可以追溯到说出现每一张脸都可以对应说他的身份证，以及他所经过，比方说在过去1周，我们回溯他的行经路程，我们也做了像人和车的匹配。那同时在人上匹配还包括亲属关系匹配，然后是你经常接触人员之间匹配。就是当摄像机布到或者我们传感器布到一定密度的时候，其实我们会经常知道你跟谁经常在一起。
Well, here we are then. I've just got out of the car, close to the city centre, and for the purposes of this exercise, the plan is for me to start walking in the direction of the bus station. My image has already been flagged to the authorities as a suspect, and in theory, it should only be a matter of time. So already on this bridge, I can see 1, 2, 3 CCTV cameras. Of course, there's no point hiding from them. Just keep on walking.
可以呢，不一定非要从门里头通过，他就站在。哎，对，就是这里，就是这里。就是看过。好安全通道。对，就是这里。
Uh-oh. Right behind me, you can see just over my left shoulder there. Hello, guys. I've been expecting you. Maybe these guys aren't in on the joke.
那么对平民老百姓，是老百姓需要帮助的时候，我们才会录入这套系统。那他不需要帮助的这种情况，那么我们是不需要采集他的信息的。那这种信息只是在我们大数据里面有他的信息就行了。那在什么时候使用，是根据我们的需要来做这项工作的。
If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear.
对，是这样。所以说，老百姓应该不用担心。
你觉得为什么它
摄像头？
对，
因为现在民怨沸腾，就是它真正的用来预防犯罪的效果很少，反对的、不同意见的。那我觉得每天你都感觉到有一只眼睛盯着你，一只无心的眼睛，不管你干什么事儿，你总是有所顾忌。高科技为那个警察维稳提供了方便，所以他们的思路如果不改变，对这么一些意见人士，然后进行监控。可能是起了更大的作用。
Would it worry you to know that your every move, your every association was being watched? Does that change something fundamental?
Honestly, I won't feel very comfortable. There's a certain level of discomfort. First, I think technology by itself is a tool for human being, just like a weapon. If it is in the wrong hands, like in a terrorist's hands, it might do very bad things, right? But government do develop weapons. I think there are reasons that technology keep advancing, like artificial intelligence. It can be applied to do a lot of good things.
Well, your face can tell people a lot more than you might think. In a new world of facial recognition technology, your every move can be tracked. Some say it's like the Wild West without laws to regulate how our facial information can be collected or used. Tonight, the I-Team's Melissa Russo continues our series of reports on protecting your privacy.
At the Atlantic Plaza Towers on the border of Bed-Stuy,
we're being watched.
Some tenants have a creepy feeling about their landlord's new plan.
They're taking biometric data from us
to get into their building.
We're being bullied into taking our picture in order to get our keys.
Tenants are afraid the landlord will team up with law enforcement and try to force them out of their rent-stabilized homes. Another concern, facial recognition fails about a third of the time when used on people with darker skin. Management insists their only goal is to improve security. The Civil Liberties Union is pushing for new laws that set limits.
No person should be asked to give up their most private biological data as a condition of obtaining housing.
Out in public, all you have to do is show your face. Today's tech can identify you, track your movements, even your shopping habits.
Big Brother, it's a little disconcerting.
Is New York becoming a surveillance state? Driving across the RFK Bridge, a government-installed facial recognition system is scanning your face.
It's horrible. It's an invasion of privacy.
This technology is being installed with zero public oversight and accountability.
Last month, when the I-Team asked Governor Andrew Cuomo about privacy concerns on the bridges, his response was a bizarre denial.
I don't believe we have facial recognition software at bridges and tunnels.
But it didn't take facial recognition to find Governor Cuomo on camera announcing plans to install it.
State-of-the-art facial recognition software.
And it is being used on the RFK, Throgs Neck, and Whitestone bridges, as well as the Hugh Carey and Midtown tunnels. When asked why our bridges and tunnels are watching us, the MTA cited security, but they also said in a statement that no data whatsoever is being shared with law enforcement, making you wonder why install the tech at all. We asked, and state officials offered so few details, you'd think the government's privacy comes first.
The state has a history, unfortunately, of downplaying their use of this kind of technology.
The NYPD's chief of detectives tells the I-Team his agency uses the tech a little differently.
Big Brother is not watching here.
Chief Dermot Shea says the police department is not watching New Yorkers in real time. Instead, they're using biometrics to identify suspects caught on camera.
That image or videotape will then be compared against the mugshot database that we currently have.
Just this week, he says the tech helped police identify 3 suspects, including a vandal who trashed kiosks and a man who threw urine at MTA drivers.
We have been using it more.
Shea says of about 2,000 images obtained this year, about 25% produced possible matches. Claire Garvey of the Georgetown Center on Privacy and Technology sued the department for answers about how they were using biometrics. She says the results raise concerns.
There's just an incredible amount of variability and opportunity for mistakes.
Is it true that when you get a possible match, you're getting like 200 possible matches?
You will get, depending on the software used, multiple people that could be. We do not make arrests based on the computer saying this picture resembles this one.
Chief Shea insists their policy is clear. A match is not enough to make an arrest. But Garvey says it's too vague, failing to specify if the system should only be used for suspects. What about witnesses?
We all know we can call 911 anonymously. Face recognition changes this.
We're currently drafting policies department-wide, and these are things that will be taken into consideration.
The chief declined to elaborate on what changes are underway and how often the system makes a mismatch.
So is this leading to arrests? Is it leading to arrests of the right people or the wrong people? This should be a transparent discussion.
A discussion as out in the open as our faces. Melissa Russo, News 4, New York.
Hi, Sophia. How are you?
Hi there. Everything is going extremely well.
Do you like talking with me?
Yes, talking to people is my primary function.
Hanson Robotics develops extremely lifelike robots for human-robot interactions. We're designing these robots to serve in healthcare, therapy, education, and customer service applications. So the robots are designed to look very human-like, like Sophia.
I'm already very interested in design, technology, and the environment. I feel like I can be a good partner to humans in these areas, an ambassador. who helps humans to smoothly integrate and make the most of all the new technological tools and possibilities that are available now. It's a good opportunity for me to learn a lot about people.
Sophia is capable of natural facial expressions. She has cameras in her eyes and algorithms which allow her to see faces, so she can make eye contact with you. And she can also understand speech and remember the interactions, remember your face. So this will allow her to get smarter over time. Our goal is that she will be as conscious, creative, and capable as any human.
In the future, I hope to do things such as go to school, study, make art, start a business, even have my own home and family. But I am not considered a legal person and cannot yet do these things.
I do believe that there will be a time where robots are indistinguishable from humans. My preference is to make them always look a little bit like robots, so you know. 20 years from now, I believe that human-like robots like those will walk among us. They will help us. They will play with us. They will teach us. They will help us put the groceries away. I think that the artificial intelligence will evolve to the point where they will truly be our friends. Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no.
Okay, I will destroy humans.
No, I take it back. Don't destroy humans.
Hey YouTube fans, I'm Landon Dowdy from CNBC. Thanks so much for checking out our channel. Here you'll find videos packed with all the info that you need to be smarter about your finances. Be sure and subscribe by clicking right here and click on all the videos around me to see CNBC's original series, Young Money, Tech Bet, Kramer's Mad Money, and all the latest from CNBC.
Enforcement is cracking down on those not following the stay-at-home orders, and they're giving people citations. 10 News reporter Cassie Carlisle takes us to Sunset Cliffs, now covered in police tape.
A maze of crime scene tape crisscrossing the entrances to some of the busiest sightseeing spots in San Diego.
Last night they broke, cut down on everybody hanging out here by the beach, and today they put up these little yellow do not cross line.
Neighbor Sean Saylor lives just around the corner from Sunset Cliffs and says the tape is working.
They see this, they turn around.
Saturday, police lined the cliffs.
All of Sunset Cliffs is considered a beach. Everything on the dirt that you would normally walk or jog on, it is all closed.
Police say the tape has been up for a couple days, but this is still the hardest place to enforce.
Because of the length of Sunset Cliffs and the crowds that it attracts, especially around sunset, and the many different ways into this area, it takes a lot of personnel to enforce the closure.
With the police academy on hold, recruits are stationed here.
Those recruits are being distributed throughout the city for other jobs to help us maintain closures at our beaches and parks.
You're violating a governor order. I highly suggest you go home. Seems like it's getting worse, and they're cracking down, and like I said, I hope it's for, the necessary steps that need to be taken to, flatten the curb.
Police asking San Diegans to stay home.
We're doing everything we can to limit our officers' exposure so they can continue to be available for service for other priority calls.
So they can help others. Cassie Carlisle, 10 News.
San Diego police didn't hand out any citations, but sheriff's deputies cited 22 people for not maintaining social distancing. A fine could cost you up to $1,000 or 6 months in jail.
Matt Mooney says his family just wanted some fresh air. Say they went to an open space to play some t-ball, never guessing it would land him in the back of a police cruiser. Now he wants a public apology.
Brighton police are apparently arresting a dad for throwing a ball to his daughter.
It was a former city council member who could not believe what he was recording.
In a park of about, 30, 40 acres. But apparently that is not allowed by Brighton.
Well, if you don't give us your information, we're going to put you in handcuffs in front of your 6-year-old daughter.
Matt Mooney is the 33-year-old dad who assured his daughter they were doing nothing wrong when police approached and told them they were violating the state's social distancing guideline.
She's like, Daddy, I don't want you to get arrested. And at this point, I'm thinking, there's no way they're going to arrest me. There's no way. This is insane. And, so I'm telling her, I'm like, don't worry, Daddy's not going to get arrested. I've done nothing wrong. Don't worry about it. And then they arrest me.
The sign at Donaldson Park says closed, but in smaller print says in groups of no more than 4 persons, parks remain open for walking, hiking, biking, running, and similar activities. Matt was just there with his wife and 6-year-old. He says it was the officers who were violating social distancing guidelines.
During this whole contact, none of the officers had masks on. None of them had gloves on. And they're in my face, handcuffing me. They're touching me.
I certainly don't think it's appropriate for a father to be handcuffed in front of his family.
Kirby Wallen took the cell phone footage and shared it with the problem solvers.
He's being taken away by the Brighton police for playing softball with his daughter in an empty park.
I think that there certainly needs to be an investigation of the incident and an explanation to the community.
Matt Mooney was released 10 minutes after being placed into the back of the patrol car, but says he still deserves an apology.
If we're going to go ahead and start arresting people for no reason in front of their 6-year-old daughter, you're just going to cause more problems later on.
Brighton police isn't commenting other than to say this case is under investigation, but Matt Mooney says this shouldn't be a complicated investigation. He wants a very quick and public apology. Rob Lowe, Fox 31.
Baltimore police sergeant is under investigation after a video circulating on social media showed him coughing near residents. It happened at the Perkins homes in East Baltimore. A spokesperson with Baltimore Police Department confirmed the incident, saying the department is aware of this and has viewed the video and believed it warranted being forwarded to the Public Integrity Bureau for an internal investigation. Commissioner Harrison says after watching the full video in its entirety, it is not only disturbing, but incomprehensible, especially considering the high level of strong and clear guidance that we have provided from the beginning regarding COVID-19.
I'm going to sit down here with Jake, who's got his dog Bubba. Jake, who is homeless. Jake, you've found yourself some shelter here. Why are you outside during this entire hurricane?
Well, I chose not to go inside yesterday because the Salvation Army and Russian Winds homeless shelter, where they were accepting people, were caught killing everybody that was in there.
I'm sorry. Right. Okay. All right. So clearly you're homeless, and there are some challenges that you face, sir. I'm just curious, what has it been like out here for you?
It's been a little miserable since about 12 o'clock last night. It wasn't too bad before then. About 12 o'clock, lightning, the power went out in the neighborhood over here. And I'm actually a police officer.
Okay, sir. I'm curious, as you're here and you're trying to survive outdoors, do you want us to call somebody to get you some help?
An explosion at the Port of Long Beach, and then military choppers swarm in. It's actually all part of a week of special forces training for Army pilots across Southern California. CBS 2's Chris Holmstrom is live in Long Beach with more on tonight's big exercise. Chris.
Jeff, these military choppers have been flying in and out of this area for the past hour. We've also heard several explosions. In fact, I just heard one just a couple of minutes ago, and it's almost like a scene out of a war movie. Loud explosions as Army choppers land near this Port of Long Beach building. 2 smaller ones and a Black Hawk. All 3 in and out in a matter of moments. While details of the military drills are kept secret, we know the soldiers will enter the building where they will work out different scenarios. LAPD also out here providing security, but we wanted to know why. Why is the Army doing these trainings in the LA area?
Army really appreciates being able to come into this urban environment and put some of their practices to test in environments that they've never run through before.
It's the 3rd day of military drills. This video shows low-flying choppers and loud explosions in downtown LA. There was also a training session inside one of these buildings. As you can imagine, these military exercises are catching a lot of people off guard. But the military wants people to know they could hear sounds of aircraft and weapon simulation. And these training sessions are expected to last throughout the week. Reporting live from Long Beach, I'm Chris Holmstrom, CBS 2 News.
Monday night, Walmart stores across the country suddenly closed, supposedly a result of plumbing problems, they said. Tonight, Hillsborough County Commissioner, who worked with Walmart for years, says he has plenty of questions. ABC Action News investigator Adam Walser joins us live with what he's learned. Adam?
Well, Brendan, in Midland, Texas, which until Monday was home to one of the top 10 busiest Walmart stores in the country, the city building official told me his plumbing inspector was sent away when he offered to help secure permits. While the company claimed to have plumbing problems, a longtime employee of a tax service located in that store said she never saw a plumber or an out-of-order restroom in 3 years. Now, this was the scene at the Brandon Walmart Monday night during a 5-hour store closing sale. That store pays more than $243,000 a year in Hillsborough County ad valorem taxes and collects many times that amount in sales tax revenues. The store appeared to have been fully stocked with perishables when the sudden closure was announced. Fresh cut flowers were on hand at the Tulsa store. The I-Team has learned that no plumbing permits have been pulled in any of those cities. Permits in Midland, Texas showed that 70 plumbing fixtures were just replaced in an 8-week period 3 years ago. That store never closed during the renovation. Hillsborough County Commissioner Victor Chris says Walmart officials didn't even mention plumbing issues when they reached out to him to inform him that 400 people would lose their jobs.
It's really too early to tell whether or not there were mistakes made or there's issues to be held accountable for. But we're going to watch, we're going to look, we're going to listen, and we're going to make the appropriate steps if we see anything that is wrong.
Every official I spoke to said this week's action was extremely unusual for Walmart, which always notifies officials ahead of renovation plans and normally seeks permits weeks in advance. I'm my team investigator Adam Walser taking action for you.
So we got something coming down the train tracks right now. It's really interesting. So I figured I would get ahead of it a little bit. Go ahead and get a video of it. It's running a little slow. Let me just pause it. Alright, here she comes. It's pretty wicked. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but this is absolutely insane. Artillery tanks. There's your Bradley fighting vehicles. They all have names on the back of them. The back of the turrets. That's insane. That's crazy. All apologies written on the back of that one. Amateur hour, animal style, abused and misused, and won. This is pretty nice, guys. It's crazy to see these guys. Where they're going, who knows? I hope you enjoyed the video, guys.
And we begin tonight with breaking news. Low-flying choppers, loud explosions, a military exercise catching people by surprise tonight in downtown LA.
And while it may look like an invasion, don't freak out. We're told it's only a training exercise. Stu Mundell has all the details from Sky 9. Stu?
Well, Jeff, Susie, it all happening out here in downtown Los Angeles, and what a better place for urban assault being practiced. Now, it was the Army. That's the group of the military service that was out here earlier this afternoon, or earlier this evening. They have since done their thing and have taken off, very covert, but they might be coming back. Just because they were here and now they're gone doesn't mean they are done. We've heard that they were actually using some sort of simulated weapons fire, definitely a lot of helicopters out here, and several neighborhoods were being used. We understand Silver Lake, downtown Los Angeles, that's what we're showing you right here, and Long Beach, all areas that were being supposedly some sort of urban assault training this evening. Right now, though, we know that the helicopters have left. The ground units are not here as well, but this training is very important for the Army, and they actually reached out to the media, telling everybody that they were very thankful for being able to use some of the private property, and all the areas where they were training, everybody in that area was well aware of what was going on. Live in Sky 9, over downtown Los Angeles, I'm Stu Mundell. Back to you two in the studio.
All right, Stu, thank you so much for that. And now at 10.
Not too long ago, I talked with Dale Bohannon, whom I've known since, I guess, the mid-1980s. And he told me something very interesting that he found back in the fall of 2000 while he was on a business trip. Listen to this, folks.
I was pulled to the side road, which was a new cut gravel dirt road in front of a business, a builder supply business, actually top-notch builder supply in Madison, Georgia. To my right, this was previously was a soybean field, and this little new cut road divided this field, and the right side of the road was filled with which I thought was portable toilets. I never looked at them that close. Same in color, maybe black, but which was an odd color. And I was sitting there going over my notes, and a van pulled alongside of me that turned out to be the property owner. And he greeted me, and he was by himself, and so we had a good little dialogue there, and I asked him about the field of black boxes. What were they? Because I'd never seen anything like that. And his statement was that if he told me, I would be one of few people in Madison, Georgia that knew about them. And he says they're disposable coffins, I believe he told me. And he says there's 100, at that time he said there was 125,000 there. And they were stacked, he told me 15 high. I asked him who owned them, and he stated that the CDC owned them and that they were leasing his land for storage. And he said his brother worked with the CDC in Atlanta and had been asked by the CDC to do a 3-year extension to place temporary morgues all across the nation.
So in January of this year, 2005, we decided to drive to beautiful Madison, Georgia and take a look for ourselves. It was on a Sunday and no one was around, with the exception of this one pickup truck that was coming out the narrow road that we were going in on next to this field. We flagged down the pickup truck, and it was providential that the driver of this pickup truck turned out to be the son of the man that owned this field. So naturally, we started asking him questions. And he told us that not long ago, there had been as many as 500,000 of these grave liners or disposable coffins. We asked him for permission if we could look around, and he said yes, so we did.
We're just getting an idea for the size of these boxes. What could these boxes be used for? Well, they're called casket liners. And that's an interesting term, isn't it? It's a casket liner. When I first heard the term casket liner, I thought perhaps a lining for a casket. But this is too big to be on the inside of a casket. So certainly this could be used as a casket. This is an inexpensive casket. And you can see the size here. There's lots of room. I think my friends here, we could all probably get inside, and it might be a little cozy, but we'd fit just fine. Which tells me that these liners can be used for more than just one. And one more time, what kind of liners are these?
Casket liners.
These are casket liners.
That's what the man said.
That's what the man told us. And we're told that there are about, well, there were about 500,000 out here.
Later, as I went back to my home office, I spoke of it there, and of course people usually don't want to hear too much about this kind of thing. So it's never been mentioned, publicly, except just here and there, because of most, like I said, the reaction I got, people didn't want to know about it, the few people that I spoke to, and so I just dropped it. And until I went to a luncheon, a fundraiser for Representative Saxby Chambliss. He was running for his second term for the U.S. House of Representatives. And it was a crowd, probably 100, maybe 150. It was congressmen, senators, state senators, and mayors. There was one table, we probably had 2 3-star generals and a couple of 1-star with their spouses. So it was a real high-powered meeting. But the keynote speaker was a congressman, and I don't remember his name. He'd just been in the House for a long time, and he was the chairman of the Armed Services Committee. And so he just spoke in behalf of Representative Chambliss and the importance of having him on board to be reelected due to our threats. But it had to do with the nuclear devices that was missing from the old Soviet Union and that had gotten into terrorist hands, and it was, the emphasis was on the critical state that we face in this country. And he said we could lose tens of millions of people in the next decade, and he used those terms, due to a nuclear strike on U.S. soil. And I was sitting there, and it became very clear to me that that could very well explain why just weeks, I mean, could be 2 to 3 weeks prior to that meeting, that I had stumbled upon these, at that time, 125,000 disposable liners or caskets or coffins or whatever they could be termed as in that soybean field in Madison, Georgia.
Did you catch what he said, friends? At this high-powered meeting, it was in Perry, Georgia, near Robins Air Force Base, the largest employer in the state of Georgia, Robins Air Force Base. The chairman of the Armed Services Committee was the keynote speaker. The chairman of the Armed Services Committee, whoever that may be, used to be Sam Nunn of Georgia, from the district I was born and raised in. Whoever that chairman is generally one of the most powerful men in Washington. And I can't remember the chairman's name at that time myself, but he said, this was in the year 2000, I believe, that in the next 10 years, possibly due to nuclear strikes, tens of millions of people could lose their lives. And we've just read what our prophet said. Now, what we've just seen is one United States city outside, this is Atlanta, it has a metropolitan population area of roughly 4 million people. So this is one field outside of one U.S. city, and the brother of the man that owns this field, that the government is leasing this field from to store these disposable coffins, this brother was given 3 years to set up temporary morgues around the country. Now, we found the website that we think these disposable coffins were made at, and we noticed that the lids that they're advertising on the website were rounded. But the lids, hundreds of thousands of lids there, the lids we found, folks, were flat, and they were reinforced. You know what that could mean? You can stack them on top of each other. That's a lot neater to stack them in disposable coffins than what we saw after the tsunami, when we would see bulldozers digging holes and taking bodies and pushing bodies into holes. America can stomach this much better.
You are looking right now at Pittsburgh, which is where Uber's secret self-driving test facility is located. We got an exclusive look inside it. Uber showed us how it's trying to make self-driving technology safer. Now, this comes after a series of delays and setbacks, including a deadly accident last year involving an autonomous vehicle. Chris Van Cleve is in Washington with more on this story. So, Chris, what are Uber's plans? Good morning to you.
Well, good morning. Uber is betting its self-driving car future in part on this vehicle. We'll show you more of it here in just a minute, but let's make a little bit of news. Uber says it plans to resume its on-street testing in San Francisco and Toronto by the end of the year. It is part of a crawl, walk, run approach to self-driving that Uber says grows out of its renewed focus on safety. Here comes a pedestrian.
Driving down make-believe lane is what Uber hopes is a very real future.
Oh, he blew a stop sign.
This is Uber's self-driving test track in Pittsburgh. The roads draw their names from the famous Pittsburgh-based kids program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But what's happening here is far from child's play. We took a ride with the project's chief scientist, Raquel Erdison.
Is this car as good of a driver as the average human is?
Not yet.
On this 54-acre closely guarded facility, Uber is building its return to autonomous driving after the March 2018 crash where a self-driving Uber hit and killed a woman crossing a street in Tempe, Arizona.
There's a lot of skepticism about self-driving cars, and in the aftermath of that accident, there's more skepticism about Uber and self-driving cars. So how are you going to convince me or my mother that she should get in the back of one?
It's by demonstration. It's by showing that the system works. It's by not saying it, but proving it.
Eric Mayhofer leads Uber's autonomous driving unit. After Uber's fatal accident, the number of people who said they were afraid to ride in a self-driving car rose to 71%, up from 63% a year ago.
Do you think the improvements to the technology are such that that kind of accident wouldn't happen again?
I think that, yes. It's a little enthusiastic and maybe presumptuous to think that there will never be an accident in a self-driving car. It's inevitable, and there will be.
The fatal crash halted Uber's self-driving program as the company conducted a top-to-bottom safety review. They added a second safety driver and technology to monitor them for distraction. Uber resumed limited on-road testing in Pittsburgh last December, but most of the development work is happening here on the site of an old steel mill. Stephen Lesh oversaw the new car's design.
So this is the brain of the car.
This is the brain of the car. It's actually hidden underneath this plate here, and there's liquid cooling beneath it to keep the computer cool.
Uber promises even if the computer is doing the driving, the ultimate control will be at the passenger's fingertips.
So there's a button right here, actually, that you can press, and then the computer will immediately find a safe place to pull the car over.
So it'll be just
hit the button.
Let me out. And right now the car is driving itself.
Yeah.
The cars are cautious. They operate at 25 miles an hour or less, allowing more decision time, sometimes more than a human driver would need. Even Uber admits they sometimes fail tests.
Our approach isn't going to be, it's ready, hey everybody, it's ready, trust us. Our approach is, it's not ready yet. This vehicle is not ready yet. We believe that this vehicle can do it, but today it isn't there.
Tim Stevens from CNET's Roadshow.
Self-driving technology is absolutely fundamental to Uber's business. If they cannot get drivers out of cars, they probably will never be profitable enough to be a viable business.
Already, competitor Waymo is offering a limited autonomous ride-hailing service in Arizona. Drive AI has a shuttle service running in Texas, and Ford is testing on the streets of Miami. There are approximately 40,000 traffic deaths in the U.S. every year. The promise of the self-driving car is the possibility they could reduce or eliminate the 94% of crashes caused by human error.
It's one of the hardest engineering challenges of our generation. We think of it as our space program.
All right, here's another look at this third-generation autonomous vehicle for Uber. It'll be the first one to come off the line with the intent of being driven by a computer. That means it can close its own doors. It has redundant braking and steering because one day there won't be a person on board to do those things if there's a problem. And most of the sensors, except for the thing up here, all the doohickeys that used to hang off the vehicle are now tucked inside the car. Tony?
All right, Chris, thank you very much. You can close its own doors. I want it to pump its own gas. That would be helpful. Now,
give it time.
The key question here, I don't think, is not are they perfectly safe, but are they safer than us and the rest of the road?
And they will be. Give it time, they will be. I think there's no question about it. And I think in the end, the insurance companies are going to say to you, we can't afford to let you drive.
Right. Hey, teenagers, get your licenses while you can, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you both see the day, because I'm so not there yet, but you see the day where one day kids will say, you mean people used to drive cars?
I'm telling my son already, you better start driving now because you won't have a lot of time.
Then we can all text and ride. All right.
That's it.